Hi, welcome to Sky Notes. This week, Tracy and Lillian break down the astrology of June 21st through 30th, including a closer look at the Summer Solstice chart. Cancer season begins, Chiron settles into Taurus, and the sky's full of themes around transition, nostalgia, and deciding what comes with us into the next chapter. So join us as we check our Sky Notes. Hi, welcome to Sky Notes. Hi, Lillian.
Hey, Tracy.
What are we talking about today?
We're going to wrap up June with a week and a little bit more, talk about the transits, and of course, the solstice coming up.
Excellent. Excellent. Yes, we start with a bang and we end with a bang in this chunk of time that we're covering. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's transitory, transitionatory. I don't know. I'm making up words now.
Here's what I took away from that, just to see if I understood it. Things are changing into something else.
Things are changing into something else. I would absolutely say that's correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we kick right off June 21st with a solstice. And we get to start almost immediately with a chart, which is fun.
Yeah.
Look at that.
We enjoy it. Look at, I love the flowers. So beautiful.
So this is from Ottawa. So this is going to be your time zone. This is Eastern time. So that for the East Coast, that puts the sun over there in the first house, which is kind of interesting. There's a personal air to this chart. Lots of interesting aspects. And it also, the season holds the Chiron and Taurus. It holds that, right?
Whole time.
That energy in it. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's interesting too. What else? What's the biggest thing that jumped out at you when we pulled this chart?
So many things jumped out. Did I make a note? I made a note, but I want to take a step back and say, so the solstices are one of the 4 points that are each year recognized and have been since time immemorial. You know, we've heard about Stonehenge and other places. And you and I talked when we spoke with Donna about gardening, how people actually would build, by and large, their community structures along the lines of the astrological signifiers. And so the summer solstice is the first moment that the sun is in Cancer. And that's such a beautiful and yummy, to me, sense of like that ultimate nourishment that summer can bring. And it's a very powerful time for manifesting. So I want to make sure to get that in there before I look at the chart. You know what I mean? And the first house, huh? Personal.
Yes. I mean, everything's over on that one side except for the Moon and Pluto. Yeah. And so, and I mean, we've got a nice distribution of modes. We've got some cardinal, we've got some fixed, we've got some mutable. So that's kind of nice. It is actually, when I look at it a bit harder, it's pretty cardinal, which fits, right? Because as you were saying, the solstices and equinoxes are transition points, and they're cardinal points, they're action, right? They're the beginning of something. Here is the beginning of summer. Over on the other side of the globe, it would be the beginning of their winter.
Which is so interesting. I always have to double check this stuff, and it's just a part of starting a process. I want to go check, and I usually use Starhawk as one of the resources. The metaphors that I recall for solstice are about the death of the Sun King. And then the next ritual is the funeral of the Sun King. And the sort of correlates in reality are, it's a time of harvest, right? And so that's a sacrifice. And I've talked about the charity stuff with Cancer. I think it's about, identifying a largesse and identifying what to do with it. And I heard this beautiful thing this week, and I'm not trying to be a Pollyanna, it just fits, where just like Rob Hand says that there are planets that are personal and community oriented and then transpersonal. There's a sense of the ego is us, but the person who we are is the collective in indigenous cultures. And I heard it expressed a week ago, and I've just been sitting with that, right? That we ourselves are a community or part of a community just by existing, And I love that the Pope said, pardon me, this week, no one has to prove that they get to exist. That would be insane, because it's helpful to get reminders when folks are really distracted with all of the information coming in.
Right, right. Absolutely. Well, and it's interesting. I was just thinking about this in terms of how we look at moon phases. And where this comes in is that point, there's a bit of a weeding that goes on here.
Selective.
Right? Yeah. And so where spring is the planting, summer is what do we keep? What's flourishing, what's not? What's here that we need to get rid of, right?
Yeah.
What's going to overgrow the stuff that we actually want to keep? So I hadn't really thought about it that way before, but there is a cleanup part to the summer solstice.
Right.
That I don't know that I've ever heard expressed anywhere. Like I'd like to go do some digging and look at it, but there is a bit of a purification and when we think about the fixed fire of Leo in the middle of it, there is something about that is there's a purifying energy to, you think about the really hot sun, and when it's too hot, it'll decimate everything. So there's that kind of energy in there too.
Yeah.
Yes. And then with Saturn and Aries, it kind of makes that a bit more potent.
I think so. So. But I also like the 12th house stuff because it doesn't have to be, I don't know, when I see Mars in the 12th, I think about the retired general, kind of, Gabriel Garcia Marquez and 100 years of solitude or 1,000 years of solitude. And he talks about this guy who's just making goldfish until he dies, little metal goldfish. And it's that sense of letting that go, pardon me, with all this great digestion I'm doing, that Mars in the 12th is not saying go out and fight a war, right? But it could construct the circumstances to make it look like a war should be fought, especially with that Uranus there, triggering stuff.
Well, and also it's funny that you put it in the words that you chose, because as I'm looking at it intercepted in the 12th house, where do you put the aggression? So there's no place to put it, right?
Well, I'm saying there doesn't have to be a place. There can be, I know I don't want to keep saying this, but there can be a playlist. Or when I was telling Tracy earlier, I lost my phone, and when I found it, what made me laugh so hard is I just let myself run around like, yay, and run around until I didn't need to run around anymore. And I was acknowledging to myself, I was letting go of all of that tension, right?
Yeah. I just, when I think about in I think mundane and horror astrology, when there isn't a place for that energy to go, it can be a bit maybe dangerous. That's the word that's coming to mind. I don't know if I'm being right, but that frustration of I've got nothing to do with, I've got nowhere to put this energy. So that's kind of an interesting, maybe a frustration of this season, right? When we look at the weird politics that are going on, it's like that just seems like random, like trying to get people's attention.
Well, and I like the new pairing of Saturn and Neptune and Aries. Saturn in the 11th, I usually think of as relationships ending, and maybe in a quarrel, and that's not to say, like, I think we've talked about this quite a bit. Nothing is permanent. There will be relationship endings. And so maybe you can take the personal judgment out of that, right? Or like I have had relationships end, and I just go to the mat trying to figure out what I've done and how I can fix myself and all this stuff. And everything's a technique to make you feel better. I don't know that I had to do all that stuff. But the Neptune on the other side of it, I mentioned the Pope, and he is not pulling papal punches. Thank you for allowing my alliteration. but he's out there. And I like that there's this sort of, this Aries irritated Saturn, right? And lately I've been thinking about everything as kind of like, where are those kids? I'm going to eat my kids. Where are those kids? I'm going to eat my kids. And then there's the Neptune going, you're not. We're ready for you. We're right here inside of yourself.
Right. Well, and Neptune gets to have a really loud voice in this chart because the sun is moving into square that Neptune.
Right.
So there's an interesting story about melting away of ego and delusion and all sorts of things. When we look at that Neptune solar square, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's some interesting stories in here when we look at Jupiter's just about to change signs. So it's doing its last stand in Cancer. And what was the other thing that popped out at me here? We still have Neptune and Pluto in a sextile with each other. And I think that has been, it's been an interesting energy in terms of when we look at it from a place of power, looking at what's going on with power, with Neptune and its delusion and its ability to sort of skew reality. Yeah. Right. Yeah. There's some interesting things happening that way. So
I'm reminded about how we were talking about freak accidents or things going missing, even though you hadn't moved out of the spot that you were using the thing in. And yeah. I like that because it's that kind of Uranian quixotic. It's the stuff that's unexpected. And if you don't have a mechanism to adjust and course correct while that's going on, you're going to be really irritated. You may be really irritated either way. But yeah, the energy is.
Yes.
And I like that we talked about this before. The Mercury going from Uranus to Jupiter, and then that, it's cruising up there to that Jupiter in the second house. It's trying to translate all this stuff from a brand new cycle, and then it hits Jupiter, who's trying to leave this cycle.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it's a very nostalgic season. Like it feels like it's going to be a super nostalgic season for sure. And you're right. I think that Jupiter likely will throw off some really annoying revisits to the past as it's finishing up this cycle in Cancer. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But you know what I wanted to say about that Mars before we stop talking about this chart is with having the Mars and the Uranus and the Chiron in there, there's always things that we don't know when you have those planets, anything on the 12th like that, right? And when we're looking at it from more of a general perspective, there's things that we don't know that have to come out. So yeah, keep that in mind for sure. Be interesting. It's Uranus, so we're going to be surprised.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
Yeah. I like it too. Yeah, and it's a pretty collective chart because if you look at all the collective planets, they're up in the collective part of the chart. So we're going to see a lot of stuff about, us as a society and different changes in that way. So
and in previous weeks of June, we've talked about how it's not about disconnecting. Even all this stuff in the 12th, it's about being selective.
Absolutely. And I love that this is all kind of coming up while we're still in Pride Month. I feel like this has been the most positive. If you're online and on social media, there's a strength behind everything that I'm seeing when people are posting about Pride this month. It's really quite lovely. It's been really powerful. So I feel like everything up in that collective piece is part of that. Like we're going to see more of that, more unity, more coming together. So yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, me too.
Excellent. So then what's after that? So that's the June 21st, the middle of the night here, a little bit 4:44 a.m. on the Eastern side of things. And so, yeah, that kicks off that whole week. We get a Cancer sun fresh start.
So sweet.
And then the next thing I know you mentioned that you wanted to talk about the trine to the North Node when we were first discussing the month ahead. Did you have any
Mhm.
thoughts? That's on the 23rd, the Tuesday.
Well, I love that. I cannot remember why I wanted to talk about it, but we were just talking. I was with a friend yesterday in a garden. It was so beautiful. And we were just talking about Stephen Forrest, I think, in one of his books, his beginning books, describes the sun in particular as the lens for the personality, as if you can't inhabit and fully express your sun, it's as if there's no lens on a camera for a film to be projected against a wall. And so all you see are fuzzy little movements around. And so with a trine coming from the North Node, I would say there's information coming in that will affect how we're going to be seen. And so usually if that's an unexpected thing, it should be quite warm and lovely. But if it's an unexpected thing, it usually, well, we have a tendency to reject that. And so I would make a note to give yourself some grace this month to let quirky stuff come out, because you may be getting signals about where you're going.
Right, right. And what popped into my head as you were speaking was, so this is going to be the sun in very early Cancer, trine the North Node in very early Pisces. But what's cool about it is one is leaving the sign and one is entering a sign. And so it's this interesting handoff that the sun is doing for the nodes before they change signs, which I think is kind of an interesting symbology. Hey?
Well, in medieval stuff, and I'm not trying to make medieval do what it won't do, the connection between the moon and the sun is critical if you're looking for outcome. And so it is quite a nice nod. But there's no way that I do not have any confirmation that medieval astrology would suggest a trine from the sun is some great manifestation. I have to go check that.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, any other planet other than the moon, it would be just be kind of like whatever. But because the nodes are a product of the sun and the moon, it's a
Yeah,
direct handoff.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to me, because the North Node amplifies and the sun being in Cancer, I feel like there's going to be this really big surge in nostalgia. Like all of a sudden we see like 5 new shows that are all remakes, or maybe they're being worked on and they actually get publicized in that time. But there's a big amplification around what's old, making what's old new again.
Oh, I love that phrase, but I would totally turn it on its head. And I don't know how to talk about this, so I may not have this all right. We were talking about I have thought a lot about giving readings to folks who are older, and we were just talking about that. And I've always been stunned by the similarity, the like high school or other adolescent periods that just show up again and again and again and again and again throughout anyone's life, right? And one of the things I think about nostalgia, I think about it as what we focus on. I'm going to say this, I feel like saying it. When we're not thanking our lucky stars for the choices that we make in our lives.
I love that. That
Right?
is so true. Yep.
And the nostalgia part comes in, I think I shared that a friend had passed, and I just found out about it during the Pluto show. And subsequent of that, I just got so much information. It was like this massive download of information that was the most closure, and that has happened repeatedly in my life, where I just get all the information about somebody really quite lovely and close to me afterward, right? To the point where I'm like, oh, I'm not going to go looking for that. I'm not going to build a story around that. There was just this real like, oh my gosh, this relationship, right? It's done. Here's all this new information. You just got to sit with it, right? And so all the grief is really real. right? How your mind reconnects stories that you thought you knew were going on, kind of thing. And in a similar way, I think about hacks, just to take it out of the personal, right? Like people who can write stories that are so complex and lovely and really touch on how people can love each other, right? And I'm going to take one further leap and say, we were having the most fun conversation today, my husband and I, over breakfast about weaving wool or spinning wool. And we were sharing about different angles of how we saw the story of nuns who carried like the spindles, and humans would carry spindles and they'd weave, create thread or yarn, right? Rope, something. And I said, I think it's thread. And he's like, oh, it's so rough. And I was like, the Industrial Revolution. It's like AI for people's hands. And it was just as bad an idea. We should all have spindles. So anyway.
He gets you.
I'm so lucky. I don't want to. So versus nostalgia, you may have sad stories that you hear, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Versus nostalgia, you may metabolize an old wound.
Yes.
Versus nostalgia, you may join with your beloveds and have a new life.
Yes. And, nostalgia can mean several different things. I think you're right. I think there is a form of nostalgia that is tied to regret. I think there's that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
Culturally. Is this weird regret, the choices that we made 100%. But I think that there's another side to nostalgia where you can look back in sweetness.
Yes.
And be grateful that you had those.
That's right.
Those moments,
completeness, right? Like I'm satisfied. I'm not trying to Pollyanna it.
Yes.
If we don't learn what satisfaction is and learn when it shows up, believe me, you may have it happen and it never happens for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is, I think when you are actively working at becoming a happier person or a more satisfied person or whatever that looks like,
right?
Whatever has become important to you, there are moments where you have to go through those moments of nostalgia to recalibrate.
Yes.
And experience all of the feelings that go with it.
Right.
And that, to me, that's what these super watery times are for.
Yes.
Is to process all that stuff.
And look how we come together, right? In the summer, it's like a nonstop party. In the winter, it's a nonstop party.
Yeah. But in the summer, it's true. When you think about, when I think about reconnecting with people, that's a summertime thing.
I was walking around in a garden. Simple. What? You want me to come to a garden and hang out? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just going to say maybe Christmas, but you think that's just on the other side. That's just literally the other side of the nostalgia coin.
There are so many parties during the holidays.
Yes. So that whole axis is very, let's return in some way. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And without trying to make it happen, I'm entertaining the notion that we are secretly a collective.
Yeah.
That's a missing piece. And we've forgotten how to work together and metabolize so that every aggravating thing we do, 40% of all our behavior aggravates everyone else.
Yes.
Doesn't become a cause for war.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. We don't have to agree.
We don't have to believe.
Yes.
All right.
Now, the thing is, with the 21st being solstice, that sun trine, the North Node, is part of the whole season. It's not just on the 23rd. That's just when it will be at its, most potent.
Right.
But that we are going to have that nostalgic amplification throughout the entire season.
I think the sun trine the North and then the sun square Neptune. It's like we're going, I don't think we get a pickup until the Thursday Venus trine Saturn. Like,
that's right.
Stand up. Get up, for God's sake. You're a fire sign.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, so the sun is going to be trine the North Node, but then, so what is it doing to the south?
Oh, sextile.
Yeah. So it's going to be, those are draining. And like you said, so then we move on to Thursday, the 25th is the next aspect, which is the Sun square Neptune. Again, fatiguing,
Whew.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
You're
Rest up.
totally right. That whole week,
Rest up. Yeah.
that whole week is going to, I think, make me feel heavy for some people,
I love that
confusing for others.
because heavy, draining, get rid of your shit that's ready to go. Right? And then you'll feel a little bit of lightness, more heaviness. I mean, look for the way to titrate that stuff around if you need to, or take a nap.
Well, and because it's all water, it's like my first instinct is clean the bath water. Whatever you're soaking in, clean the bath water regularly.
Yeah.
You know, on those lines, I tell people get under a shower. If you're somebody who's really receptive, get in the shower, wash that shit off, right? Well, because I work at home now, and a lot of what I do, I don't have to be pretty. Well,
right.
This part needs to be presentable.
You don't have to look at yourself. Yeah.
And so I started, showering maybe every second day, and just, whatever. But in the past 10 days, something has driven me to get in the shower every morning. And I am telling you, I feel a million times better than I have felt in months. And I swear that's what it is that I did not realize how much I was carrying.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. Yeah. And I got a cranial sacral treatment, and there was like mega blowout of energy.
Yeah.
But I also, I'm experimenting with this stuff. It's not I'm not trying to be a better person, blah, blah, blah. But what I'm saying to you is this. Terry Pratchett, author, love him, talks about how some girls become witches because they notice that their grandparents' toes aren't getting clipped, and they really want to take care of that. And that has always like touched my heart, which, because I can also be such an asshole, I want that person to stand up real tall inside of me and like speak from that place. And I've started washing my feet off every day, like to kind of start the day. And I know that that's one of the practices in Islam and certainly elsewhere, right? Like cleansing the body is something that's really a big deal. Covering your head is really a big deal. But it has just been such a pleasure because I keep thinking about this as like this little, I have Vesta in the 12th in Libra. Every person's toes should be clipped as often as they need to. And that's what witches are. I just love that vision.
It's amazing, beautiful. And you think about, reflexology and all the points that are in the feet. So beautiful. Now that's a kidney point on the bottom of the feet. Kidneys are ruled by Libra. So Venus. So there's a really magical self-care piece to that, to what you're talking about. And there is a really powerful purification. I think that's almost or as powerful as the hair part, right? A lot of
That's a whole different thing now that I've got 80 million colors in it, right? Like, I wash it ritually, right? Yeah. Because I don't always put on the song, I'm going to wash that man right out of my hair, but I could. And it has to, I'm so curious to what I can do with it. So the hair washing is a different thing, but what you said, I want to go back to that, encapsulates so perfectly how you can activate your chart for its own personal bests, and that you do not have to do what other people do. You just have to keep track of what it is and how you feel when you're doing it.
Right.
Hey, if you feel like crap, don't do it. If you feel like crap and you're stuck on it, try some of these wiggles, because you're not supposed to. You don't need to stay stuck.
Well, and also it's not the things, whenever we're talking, all of this is remediation of some form. It's not supposed to stress you out.
Right.
It's supposed to be, some effort. There needs to be some effort put behind it, but it's not supposed to be stressful and create anxiety. Sure. That's not helpful, right? That's not
right. Oh my gosh. Well, I didn't tell you about the end part of that ritual. A basket of my favorite socks is where I do this. All of my favorite products, right? Like I just sit with my feet for a while and do stuff. And then I load them up with like fuzzy socks and put them in some shoes that are my favorites, and off I go. So it's just a whole little package deal, not stressful.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So that first week is going to be, we also have Venus's trine Saturn on the 25th.
I think that will pull us out of it somewhat, you know?
I kind of, it's almost like when I feel into it energetically with all the water and perhaps feeling overwhelmed or things feeling like a lot. If it's not lighter, because it's Saturn, so it might not, but it's Venus in Leo, it might feel like it gives us something to do.
Right.
So a distraction, right? And if it's something that is you're being creative in a practical way, that's kind of like really the bare bones of that combination of things, right? It might just be a really lovely distraction that in the end you come out with something to show for it.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful. So do it. I think it's whatever's drawing you creatively, make it real. And that's a good use of that aspect for sure.
Absolutely.
And then the very next day, gosh, the sun is doing some wacky things that week. The next day we have the sun Quincunx Pluto.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting story. The sun changes sign on Sunday, goes into Cancer, summer solstice. Then it goes high north node. Let's make it a big deal. Let's make it louder, right?
Yeah, this is an impression. Here we go.
Exactly. And it's gonna, I mean, when I think about what the North Node can do in Pisces, is it's like Neptune on steroids,
right?
In some ways, right? And then all of a sudden it comes into conflict with Neptune, the sun does, in a square.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like, no, you really want to see what Neptune energy looks like? Here it is.
Right.
And I mean, so we have Venus in Leo. So you've got something that's not the best place for Venus, and ego can get a little bit funny, right?
Right.
So one of the things that I see often with Sun Neptune aspects is that dissolution of ego. And it can present as it feels depressing, it feels delusional, like, it can go the other way where it can create a hyper reaction to trying to preserve ego, right? But Venus is there to kind of take all the weight of that. So I think the trine to Saturn is a blessing.
I think so too.
It'll keep all of that grounded. Now, the positive thing about all this is that's potentially an extremely creative week.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, are you going to take that whole week to paint?
Well, I mean, I take all my time to do creative work. All of it. But yes, of course. And we're talking about the fourth week. We are currently in the first week. And what's so funny is I felt with total ease, like we should have folks over. Do you know what I mean? Like to be able to work with these, navigate these things. So yeah, right now I'm preparing my space. It's still, I have too much. I got to let go of it. And as we've discussed with charities, which I think is really relevant, because I think that Jupiter leaving Cancer is about like, what gifts will it bring us? And like, what gifts do you have? You do not give crappy stuff. You do not give poor quality. You do not give uncared for. You do not give discarded. So it really is this kind of, I like that you mentioned that nostalgia is in a bunch of different ways, because I like that. What does it mean to you? What place has it held? And then where is it going? And the where is it going is that's us.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So interesting. Whenever somebody else says the word nostalgia, I always go back to this puzzle that I remember building as a kid. I probably would have been like grade 4, around there. And it was a fall scene. And I was so weirdly enchanted with that puzzle. And I can't even describe it in a way that even makes sense to myself, but it is one of those things where I'm always right back in that puzzle, and there's just something about it. And it's a longing. To me, when I think nostalgia, there's always this little tiny bit of longing to go back to whatever that feeling was, right?
Yeah. Because that goes right into that old trope about the 3 wishes, right? The way Terry Pratchett handled that was the third wish is always make it go back to the way it was.
Right.
So we can hold that we're in the right place, and we can go through these things that take us out of it, and we can come back. And in fact, we will. That's what we keep hearing about, is that there's this path through it where we come back to ourselves and we go out and come back and go out. And I'm really looking forward to this summer. I think it'll be really interesting. And if it were winter, I'd say I'm looking forward to the winter, because it feels interesting to have this perspective ahead of time.
I feel that like as soon as all of the outer planets had changed signs, there was an aspect of that, like, ooh, like there's something brand new, that it's like there's a part of me that can't wait to see how this unfolds. Like there's an anticipation that is a bit intoxicating, like it as an observer.
Yes.
Which is a bit perverse sometimes, but you know what I mean?
Don't know. Like, I think being able to observe your life is a big deal.
But there's a thing about those of us born under full moons who can separate ourselves and look objectively at things in a way that others who don't have that blessing can't do.
I understand that.
And it can be a little perverse to somebody who can't do it.
That is fair.
Right?
That is fair.
But there is this neat curiosity of like, that part of me wants to sort of be up here and just sort of watching it instead of living it.
Right. Well, hex, that's the best place.
So my whole point of that, wow, that's a really long way to get to that sun Quincunx Pluto, which is going to be an interesting adjustment.
Yeah.
Because it's power.
Right.
And it's leadership. And it's how do we need to adjust what's going on here, so I think it'll be welcome for some people and really uncomfortable for anybody who has taken themselves too seriously. That combination to me is a slap upside the head if you're taking yourself too seriously in such a big way, so the news should be interesting during that time anyways.
Absolutely.
And then the very next day, Mars makes a nice aspect with Jupiter. So there's an opportunity there. It's a sextile. So that's the weekend of the 26th, 27th, 28th, before Mars changes signs. It's going to have a nice little kiss up there with Jupiter. So
I like that.
It's kind of like we have this very intense week that might be low energy, and bang, the weekend we just get hard with this zap.
Back at it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then poof, we're going to get frazzled on the 28th. So why I say that is Mars is changing into Gemini.
Right.
And I don't know about you, but that is one of the transitions that we go through every couple of years where my nervous system has a hard time with that.
I haven't been able to observe that. So I'll be observing that this year. But I do know that the metaphors I've heard about Gemini they gather a tremendous amount of information and lay them all down as if they're broken shards of a mirror. And when the mirror is complete, they can take a step back, if they can take a step back and see a picture. But if you're in the middle of a project and you go out searching for mirror fragments, that's really distracting. If you had a vision and the vision's gone now, but shows up in little pieces of other stuff, that's distracting. And if you're the type of person who likes to work in a linear fashion, that may not be available because Gemini shoots all over the place, kind of more quantum or.
Yeah. Yes. My experience of people who have that placement natally, they have to talk through their choice. They have to talk through what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a need the Gemini and the action of Mars. There needs to be some kind of talk through or a list of actions.
Yeah.
Right. The step by step. And so when it happens to us collectively, right, Mars and Gemini can make it's mutable, our minds change, we get overactive brains. And so everybody might need to start list taking for the time that Mars is
interesting
in Gemini, right?
Good
it might be the way through.
or maybe even start your list now.
Yeah, yeah, plan for it. Yeah, for sure. And to me, like Mars and Taurus is a really distinct vibe, right? It's that super fixed Taurus energy. And I know for myself, um, the tenacity of that has been amazing this whole time. Like
Yeah.
I'm kind of sad that we're not going to have this Mars and Taurus anymore because it has been really helpful.
Yes.
We're not going to have that when Mars goes into Gemini. It's going to be
Right.
it's a little bit more frantic, definitely. And it's joining all that fire and air of the outer planets, right? So
right. I mean, it's just gonna, yeah, it's gonna become less and less and less personal.
and yeah, good point. And because of what happens the next day, it adds a layer of chaos. That's the word I'm going to use. It adds a layer of chaos. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that leads us to June 29th, which is like pretty wild. We started wild, we're ending wild for June, right?
Right.
So the first thing that happens that day is Mercury goes retrograde. Yeah, that's the first thing that happens that day. We've mentioned Mercury retrograde in water all year. Yep. And with very little exception. That's rare that we have, like, usually there's always an element like that's present, but it's rare that Mercury actually stays completely immersed in that element the whole time.
Yeah.
And so it really only, it went like with the Pisces one, it did a tiny little bit of Aries on either side. And I believe in Scorpio, it does a little tiny bit of Libra, but it is like waterlogged the whole year. So it's going to be in Cancer. It's going to do that for 3 weeks, but it's going to be in Cancer until August. Then what's next?
So we've got, and just to add to what you're saying, when Mercury goes retrograde, that means it has been slowing down to a stop, metaphorically. And so it is slow.
And it's not like automatically we start feeling Mercury retrograde. It's going to be in shadow for 10 days beforehand. So
exactly. But that stationary moment is a little bit of a, okay. And then Mars will be squaring the nodal axis. And so you've got that scattered energy potentially. And then you've got a correction coming. not like, oh, you did something wrong, but the nodal axis, when a planet squares it in evolutionary astrology, you're revisiting, you're redoing, you're repairing.
Now, that's interesting. I love that you framed it that way, because the first thing the vision that came into my mind with the Mars and Gemini square the nodes is, I feel like, because we've been going through this time of very black and white, one side and the other side, very binary in terms of opinions and ideas. I feel like that Mars square the nodes will actually either make that really glaringly
interesting
something.
Yes.
Or there's something that makes it almost more divisive. Like there's just something about that where either there's an event where people need to make a choice and there's two paths. Like there's just something very binary about that.
I love it.
Yeah. So it's not that square the nodes to me feels pretty intense. I mean, it's going to be because the next thing on the list is there's the full moon that day.
And then the full moon in Capricorn.
Yeah. With Mars square the nodes.
When you were talking about the square, and I was thinking about repair, I kept getting these pictures of in the Mercury in water signs, right? People opening up field peas on the porch, hanging out before dinner, right?
Yeah.
Or like my husband loves the phrase mise en place because it helps him set up his cooking, right? When we're meal planning. And so those kinds of things, that the preparation before the preparation kind of sort of, and it is a very Capricornian thing to know what your process is to get to an outcome, right? And so it takes that crazy kind of Mars energy and it gives it the emotional stability of that plan, potentially, right?
Right.
Because the moon in Capricorn, you know, everybody has emotions and we all react to them differently. And what we love about the signs for the moon is it really helps us understand the different reactions. And so the moon in Capricorn wants to be productive, wants to see an outcome, wants to do the work that gets you to the next place. You know, doesn't want to leave the work for someone else, wants to make sure there's quality to it.
Right.
So there's a whole bunch of stuff in there that's supportive to the Gemini, but it could definitely be a little splat at the same time.
Well, and so here's the thing. If you've got Mercury going retrograde, it's stationed in the full moon chart.
Mhm.
It is in charge of that Mars.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like,
yeah,
that's the piece. That's the piece that now we've got Mars we've got Mercury that's being ruled by the moon. So you've got this the whole time, right? Now our planet of taking action is being run by an engine that is all over the map.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then add nostalgia to that whole picture.
And stillness.
Yeah. Well, now here's the benefit of this though. This is like deep cleaning, getting rid of old crap energy. Absolutely.
The picture I have immediately is going through old family photos. Enjoy yourself. You know what I mean? Like this is a love festival. The more you can get into it, right?
And when we're talking about like the Gemini and the Mercury, there's a storytelling piece of this.
I love that.
Which is like, so go through your things and remember the stories, and if you can,
change the ending, change the elements, you know, like that is the metabolization of the emotion, right? Is that you go to that story again, but the story has changed and you see that. But all of that, put that all away. It just, here we go, getting launched into another month. Here comes July, and July is a feisty one.
Well, you know, when we get there, the first thing, I don't have any of that in front of me, but we can look at this chart and go, Mars talks to Uranus right off the bat. So, you know, we're not going to be bored.
After hearing about what's going on with the nodes. I mean, I love that it's like, you know, anniversary times and parades and all that kind of stuff, because those are the kind of common elements of nostalgia, right? Like an anniversary or that kind of stuff. But yeah, you can tell already it's crazy this year.
Yes. Yeah. And you know, the other thing that hadn't quite clicked to me was that we have that Jupiter in its last dying moment.
That's right.
In this chart. So although at 11:51 p.m. here and the next day there, Jupiter moves into Leo for the next
end the month.
13 months.
Jupiter and Leo, not subtle. I think you said before.
Yes, but it's also not a clean switch over, because we've got this in the full moon chart, and in the solstice chart, Jupiter's right at the end of Cancer. So there's still stuff to wrap up around the Jupiter parts of your chart for sure. It's kind of beautiful, really, because the Mercury retrograde will allow for cleanup. It'll inspire cleanup.
And when I see the stationary and I feel that space coming, make up a space, go right down nostalgia.
Yeah.
And put it somewhere and then come back to it when you feel like it.
Yeah.
Just make a space metaphorically to hear this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hate to harp on it, but again, no Earth, just that moon. Chiron. I mean, now the beauty of that is with Chiron there's some real healing in whatever you do to ground and to connect to Earth. You know, Chiron is there to facilitate that. So there's some really beautiful work to be done. But I can see, and I mean, I'm seeing that talking to people all over since we've had this energy pretty consistently. People really feel ungrounded and have so much gratitude when they feel that moment.
It's not set it and forget it. During this season, repeat groundings are appropriate, and cleansings. Like you said, energetic hygiene is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be curious to, like, I don't know. Do you pay attention to your cravings and the things that you tend to want to eat through these cycles?
I do. I don't think the information is joined together, oddly enough. But yeah, the thing that I think you and I have talked about is looking at the moon and its sign, and then the aspects, and then what that does year over year. And I'm like so at the beginning of putting that together,
Right.
to make it available. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah. I don't know that all the answers to that, but I just know that, like, I usually certain things are seasonal. And like when I'm thinking about, like, when I crave things like stew and starch and stuff that's really grounding, right?
That's
It's
so
usually there are seasons attached to that, but I'm noticing more and more that it actually is quite tied to elemental shifts.
I would agree. And to your point, this is not the most grounded thing, but potatoes. I just made boiled potatoes yesterday.
It is the most, anything that grows in as a root is
Love
like
it.
the fastest way to get yourself grounded.
I just made them for the week, right?
And
you can mash them and do whatever, but they're right there. Give me those
Yes.
potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the fastest way to get grounded is to eat.
And then coffee, it's funny that I mentioned coffee because coffee is so concentrated. I don't know if I did mention coffee.
You did. Yeah, you did mention it.
Yeah.
Coffee.
Yeah. Coffee. Yeah. So it is very grounding. And when I used to smoke a long time ago, cigarettes, tobacco is to receive that grounding. And then it spins you out. But at first,
right.
it grounds you.
Well, and so what's interesting about both of the things you just named, they are they're stimulants.
Right.
And so they fall under, they're a fire. Often Aries is a coffee.
Interesting.
Right. And it's interesting that you're talking about those, as we're going to lose some of that fiery energy with Mars moving, right? And so these stimulants, and with all the stuff talking to Neptune, that is what might be what
we might hear about it. We might see it. It's also fire, right? I mean, and I love that we focus on remediation quite a bit because, as John Gottman's wife said, if you know all this stuff, what's the benefit unless you can tell people how to improve it? It's what we're trying to do here. Because you can really, with Venus going into a fire sign, look who's leading us again, saying, figure out what you want, y'all. We need you to figure out what you want. We need you to be your full self.
Other than Pluto, she's the only fixed energy that we have too.
Right? So how are we putting these people in place?
Yes. But so that's another untethered feeling though, when we don't have a lot of stuff that's fixed. So that's
interesting.
Is going to add to that sort of maybe people feeling overstimulated.
So ground yourself repeatedly. You're going to know what you want during this period, whether you like it or not. So take it on advisement.
And you might not be able to go get it yet, but you'll be able to
know.
Yeah. You'll be able to know. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it seems, I look at this and I'm already feeling a little bit overstimulated.
Well, and that's the other thing, because I think about that fire hose, and as somebody who lives, with the Neptune on the ascendant, and the South Node on the ascendant, I used to love that show Medium. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah.
Patricia Arquette, played a character who helped police, and she was psychic. And the whole show starts out with her putting on like really loud music on headphones, because everywhere she looks and everywhere she goes, there are these impressions coming at her. And, without understanding that kind of energetic exchange and being trained in what we said, I think during one of our recent episodes, was none of our damn business, even if you can see it. Well, you can get really confused. So I think the key is, if it doesn't clear when you do your work, it's somebody else's stuff.
I like that.
Like I said, you can work for the rest of your life on other people's stuff because it doesn't do anything.
That's true. It's just a distraction.
It's a full-time job distraction.
Yeah, exactly.
The only other thing I want to say is like charity and sacrifice are kind of on a spectrum, don't you know? Right. And so sacrifice, I've noticed, has been asked for. And in that, I think we talked about the solstice, like there's the myth of the death of the Sun King, right? Who was born on the winter solstice, who grew like the wheat and the barley and the food that carries us, right? And then we come and we cut him down at his knees, right? And then that's the ending. And it's the sacrifice, right? And then they've dwindled that myth down to, if he does something wrong, he gets sacrificed. But no. We all die, and every one of these is an expression of how to get through, right? As your whole self, no matter what. Right. And so charity, you give your best stuff, right? And then sacrifice, maybe you give your best stuff, right?
Right.
So it's an interesting thing. We're going into a season of like sharing time with people and loving on people. And we want to be specific, grounded, and find out what we want. And if we spin out, know that you'll come back, and inshallah, we hope. You know what I mean? That's the tendency, is to come back.
Yes. But to your point about sacrifice, with Neptune having just changed signs, and us as humans feeling into what that's all about, we're redefining sacrifice at this stage, right? And you think about the last time we did that was when Neptune went into Pisces, and the world has changed so much since then, even.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, because that's what, 12 years ago?
I mean, that's the thing. I love what Bob Dylan said on Highway 61. God said to Abraham, "Give me a son." Abe said, "Man, you must be putting me on." God said, "No." Abe said, "What?" God said, "You can do what you want to, but the next time you see me coming, you better run." And then Abe said, "Where do you want this killing done?" And God said, "Down on Highway 61.
Well, I don't know that I've ever heard those lyrics before. Huh. Yes, that's a beautiful addition to that. I love it. Yes. Yeah. I feel like a human experiment, though, these days with all these shifts and changes.
I think it's just too much information. You know what I mean? Like, I've never been so happy. I don't know why I would say unhappy, to unplug. Like, I lost my phone this morning, and I was like, I bet you I just hit it because I don't want to talk to anybody. There's just so much going on. Do you know what I mean?
Like, I get it. Yeah, absolutely.
And I just am trying to clean and, go paint, right? Yeah. Find the stories,
Yes. Yes. And I feel like we are not alone in that. Like, people really are not online like they were before. And there are, I see so many more pictures again of people posting of their experiences, going out and experiencing life. And so it's a big shift. So it'll be an entertaining and interesting summer for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think it'll be a blast. I mean, I don't want folks to think, just because we're aware that remediation is sometimes called for, that we're not enjoying all this. This is hilarious.
Well, and hey, Jupiter's going into Leo. That ain't done. That's wrapping up a wild 10 days. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. The end of June is going to be interesting. Thank you, Lillian.
Thank you, Tracy. And thanks you all for joining us.
And we'll see y'all next month.
Mm-hmm.